Norsemen. Yes, I'm talking about Norman who adopted French, but they abandoned Old Norse language. Hi everybody, today I will be talking about some short notes related to medieval English or Middle English literature. And this is none other than, which is very common, that is feudal system or feudalism. That means rural life ruled. Rural life ruled. In this period, act of chivalry was also there, where the knight was very important part, who was very brave, who is very respectable, and who has some honor and dignity. And the knight or the horseman was the main priority in different types of writing in medieval English or Middle English literature. William the Conqueror, that means Duke of Normandy, and later part we know that William I of England was also involved, and both just adopted French. And this French is so-called Romance. This Romance means Roman language, Indo-European language, that means Latin and Germanic, which is Latin but not from Germanic language, that means Indo-European language. As I have mentioned before in the previous videos, that peasants or the lower class people were using English language, and the upper class or the nobility or the aristocratic people who are from French, that means who are from France, Anglo-Norman, okay, they were using French language, and Latin were used in church, that means courtly language, and to write some manuscripts, to write like some cultural or official related to their writings, and they tried to use Latin as their courtly language. A biblical text, yes, I'm talking about the Ormulum, and it's written in 19,000 lines, and the writer was none other than a monk who was called Orm. 1337, that means 1337 to 1453. This is called 100 Years' War against France. From 1349 to 1350, we have got a plague, that means the Dark Age or the Black Death in Middle English literature or medieval English period, and it killed, the Black Death killed, or the plague killed about more than people who were involved in this country, and it's about a third of the population. And that is why the early part of Middle English or medieval English literature, what happened, nobody knows. That is why it's called Dark Age. So from 1066 to 1500th century, we have got medieval English literature or Middle English literature, and by this time we know that a huge transition in English literature, language, and even culture or the lifestyle of England, it was totally continued. And that is why through this situation, a modern English or modern English literature, now we know what we are talking about, what is recognizable now, we have got through this situation. As I have mentioned, that religious writings were also at that era, like Old English or Anglo-Saxon period, and in Middle English or medieval English literature, religious like Old English literature, it was like that. And we have already talked about Geoffrey Chaucer, Thomas Malory, Robert Henryson and none other than William Langland, whose famous writing is Piers Plowman. We can talk about Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, and we don't know who is the author or who is the writer. So, as I have already mentioned, in Middle English literature or medieval English period, we know that some writers or even some poets were unknown. And through Geoffrey Chaucer, we have got English literature. That means this is the beginning or the birth of English literature. And through this, we have got the very famous The Canterbury Tales. This is the first work which is the greatest works. And even we can talk about it. This is opposing, the writing is opposing French and Latin languages. Translation of Bible. Yes, you have to mention John Wycliffe. At medieval English literature or Middle English literature, under Wycliffe, we know that the transformation of English church was under him. As we have mentioned before, that feudalism, okay? So feudalism abolished, or you can talk like through the dark, through the Black Death, okay? Through the Black Death, that means plague, the feudalism broke down. The power, the social structure, or the ruling power, that means the Lord or the Baron's administration, and everything related to justice or even tax, tolls, and demands, all the things broke down or broke up through this situation, that means the plague or the Black Death.